Hello, and welcome to The Conjuring. I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me. In this episode of The Conjuring, we're going to go into a deep dive of VPC on AWS. Ooh, spooky! Let's begin.
All right, and welcome to my deep dive. So you can tell it's a deep dive because we got our snorkeler underwater, probably. He's maybe in space, who knows? And he's trying to find something. And what is he trying to find? Or she, or I'm not really sure the gender. But he's trying to find VPC. And if you don't know what VPC stands for, you can see it on your screen, Virtual Private Cloud. And this is the fundamentals of what a VPC is. And you know, when you're deep diving for something, you kind of need a bunch of gear. And like some of the gear you might need is like your snorkel and your breathing tank and some flipper things. So some of the gear you need for a VPC, I will cover. And one of the things you must do before you go diving is triple click the like button on this video, as it'll help the YouTube algorithm a lot. And this is like the first time I've made slides for a video, so you can tell I put in a lot of effort. So let's get through it. So what is VPC? For that, let me go about me. I'm a cloud software engineer. That's my main job. I work on AWS systems. That's my real job. Not at AWS, but using AWS itself. And I'm 6 times AWS certified. And my mission is to help get you to understand the fundamentals and basics of the VPC. So maybe you can use it, or maybe if you're really just trying to get certified, you can help learn something from that as well. And it has very many parts, so that's why it is very, I guess, difficult to understand for some people. So hopefully this will help and understand on how VPC can be used to secure applications or used for networking. So VPC has a bunch of different parts. They have subnets, internet gateways, VPC endpoints, NAT gateways. So these all might sound like buzzwords to you, but they all are part of VPC, and I'll explain what they do individually later on. After slides, I'll also go through on how to actually make a VPC in the AWS console. But a VPC, if you did not know, is from the Amazon itself, is a way to provision a logically isolated section of the AWS cloud, so separate from all the other services and from all the other networking, where you can launch AWS resources in a virtual network. So what is a virtual network? So imagine like you have like a router at your home that gives you Wi-Fi and stuff that connects to all your computers. That's a network. So this is kind of the same thing, except it's virtual. So it's all in some of their computers and wherever their computers are. Mine specifically are in Northern Virginia, because that's where I am. So there's a lot of features that VPC provides. So other than that definition I gave you. So it can provide you access control. So it you can control what access comes into your network or out of your network. So inbound and outbound access, and using access control lists and a bunch of other features as well. So it allows privateness. So you can connect to AWS services directly using a VPC endpoint. So that'll just allow you to, instead of going through the internet and potentially getting unwanted access to your services, you can go directly to AWS services. And then you can also have publicness, so you can connect to the outside gateway or outside internet. So people, like, you know, when you go to an internet website, you connect to the outside internet, or they connect to the outside internet to connect to you. So they all come together, and you do that with an internet gateway. And then has a feature of connection, so you can connect VPCs together, like using VPC peering. So you just connect them together, and boom, they're connected without having to go through the outside internet. I said outside internet a lot here because oftentimes you don't want to go to the outside internet. So it is important to understand the key terms of a service or anything really. If it has a lot of like technical terms, it's really important to understand what they mean and how to use them. So a subnet is a part of a VPC, so a portion of VPC's IP address range where you can place groups of secluded resources. So what you can think of this as, like, you can have in a VPC multiple IP ranges or multiple subnets, and you can do different things in those subnets. There's also the NAT gateway, which is NAT is just network address translation. It's exactly, I guess, what it sounds like. That it's a service that allows resources to access the internet in a VPC. So let's say you have something in a private subnet, private as in it's not connected to an internet gateway, so it doesn't go to the outside world. But you want it to access the internet for something. Maybe you need a software update on it or something like that, because everything needs to be updated. I remember like Windows updates are like once a week or something like that. So maybe you need to access the internet. So you'd use a NAT gateway for that. And then there's the internet gateway, which I mentioned before, allows connections to the internet from a VPC. It's the gateway into the internet, the gateway into the outside scary world. So you really need to be careful when you're using internet gateway, because anything can go through that gateway and potentially access the resource behind that gateway. So you need to make sure it is very secure behind that internet gateway. And then there's VPC endpoints. So this allows you to access your AWS services that you want to access, like S3 buckets, RDS. There's a lot of different endpoints that you can use. And you're going to, it's not all the AWS services, by the way, but you're going to use this without using the internet gateway. So it's not going to be publicly accessible. So you're not going to go through the outside world. You're going to go directly to AWS. All right, so now we are in the AWS console, not the VPC console. They don't have that, or I guess we're not there yet. But one way to find the VPC, it is in the, if we look for VPC here, it will be all the way in the networking section. So we'll go there, and then we're going to create our own VPC, which is going to be amazing. So you can do that a couple ways. So you can just do the VPC Wizard, which we will do, start it out. And before you even launch into VPC, you can see this, there's a dashboard here. It shows all the VPC resources you have. So I have only in Northern Virginia, because I'm in Northern Virginia, and it's like the most popular region, like not most popular region, but it's where they release their like new services first. So I guess I want to use that. I want to see those new services. So shows you all the VPCs, the subnets, the routing tables. I didn't explain what a routing table is, so let me explain that. Okay, so straight from the AWS documentation, a routing table basically is a set of rules that your networking information will follow to determine where your networking traffic, so it's going to go in from your like internet gateway, and where it's going to go into your subnets or your gateway. So it's kind of like a list of instructions for what to do. And there's a lot more to it than that. It's just more than a set of rules or routes. There's custom routing tables, main routing tables, edge associations. So I'm not going to go into all this. You can just do a quick Google search for routing tables if you want to find more specifics to your need, because a lot of these are very specific. Today, though, I want to show you how to use the VPC Wizard, which really easy, basic setup of the VPC. And there's more complicated ways to do it as well. So first, you want to, so with the wizard, you create a /16 network with a /24 subnet. So what does that mean? /16 just means it has a higher number of subnets it can create in it. And /24 is the lower number of subnets. So it's really all you need for right now. So we're going to select, and then you can change your IP CIDR block, and you can see how many IP addresses are available. So 65,531, that's probably less in the future. You also have the option to select no IPv6. So right now that was for IPv4, and then IPv6, if you don't know the difference between IPv4 and IPv6, so IPv4 only has these 4 digits and then a /16, or not 4 digits, but 4 like blocks of 3 numbers and then /16. While IPv6 is of course more complicated. That's because they ran out of IPv4 CIDR blocks, so that's why they had to go to IPv6, or they are running out. So IPv6, you can choose no IPv6 CIDR block, Amazon provided IPv6 CIDR block, or the IPv6 CIDR block owned by me. And you can even name it, so we'll call this like subscribe. Let's see if I can name it that. Okay, public CIDR IPv6, why is it saying that? Oh, it's probably, okay. So 251 IP addresses available for this. We're just gonna leave that as. We can select any availability zone. It doesn't really matter to me, so I'll just select 1A. So when you make your own, my 1A will not be the same thing as your 1A, because they pick that randomly. And then you can change the public subnet name to be something fancy like Dan Clark News at 11. If I became a news director, here's the weather. And then you can add your service endpoints, like I mentioned before. If you want to add like S3 endpoints, you can do that here. Or you can have more complicated stuff. But we are not doing that for this part. So you can enable DNS host names, yes or no, and then you can add hardware tenancy. We are just not, so hardware tenancy, what that means is if you want to have a specific dedicated hardware or a computer that will run it instead of like one computer that runs multiple. So that will, of course, probably cost more. So we're not going to do that. And then we're going to create our VPC. And it's easy as that. Create VPC. It might take a couple seconds. It finalizes stuff. And then we can launch an instance into our subnet, which is honestly the end result of what you want to do. You want to launch an EC2 instance into whatever subnet you want. And of course, you have instructions how to do that here. You can choose launch instance, configure instance details, and then you can choose the VPC that you just made, whichever one that you just named, and you'll see it when you launch your EC2 or your AMI, whatever you want to launch. And then you click launch, and then you can also configure your security groups and your access control list to specify what gets access to your VPC. Now, if you want to delete your subnet, you can do that as well. So you can just go to the console here and then open the VPC console. You can go to the subnet pane and then you just delete subnet. So let me try that out. All right, so here I am at the subnet screen. So all I did was I went from the VPC dashboard, I went to the subnets, and then you'll see all the subnets that I made. I don't know what these are, honestly, for. But here we are. We can go look here at the subnets. We have flow logs, so this can give you information on what IP addresses are kind of going in and out of the network. It's very useful. There's a routing table, has the destination and the targets, the access control list, what IP ranges and traffic are going to be allowed into the network. And then there's tags if you want to like name something. So right now we only have name, but you can do whatever you want really with that. Like name, you can call it, maybe you have one for production, one for development. That could be very useful. And if you want to share it with something, you can do that here. You can remove access at any time by simply selecting appropriate resource share and click stop sharing below. So that is all very cool here. And also, I didn't show the description, but has the route table, default subnet, no. And then has the IPv4 here, and then the IPv6, and then the access control list, which we can look at. Let's look at that. So that is here. It has the inbound rules, what can enter and what can not enter the network, and then the outbound rules, same kind of thing. So right now, we are all traffic. We are allowing all traffic here, and then allowing all traffic for inbound as well. So let's say we want to delete this. So we have a couple of options here. So you can delete the network access control list. We can edit the rules. We can edit the subnet associations. But we're just going to try to delete it right now. And we'll get an error, or cannot be deleted. So the following network ACLs have associated subnets and cannot be deleted. So we have to get rid of those subnets first. So let's do that. Subnets, we'll go to Dan Clark News at 11, the subnet we just made. And by the way, you should probably make more than one subnet for something, because if that subnet falls, then it could spell trouble. So now we deleted the subnets. So we can try to delete the VPC now. So let's try delete VPC. It'll probably give us an error. Oh, no, okay. Will be deleted. Okay. So we just click delete. And then server says we deleted the VPC. All right. I think that covered a very basic of what VPC was and how to delete it and how to create it on the very basic level. So that's the end of this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you have not already. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.